Islam and Grand Rising. Today is April the 23rd, 1440 on the sun calendar, 1441 on the moon calendar, and 2020 on the Gregorian calendar, which is still our calendar in all lowercase letters. It is Thursday, and this is the national call of the judges, justices, and consuls of the Moorish National Republic Federal Government, which is all Moors. And we welcome everybody, whatever territories you're calling from, and we'll get right to the matter. You should be governing in those territories at this time. And what governing consists of is liens on those who are violating, and on all corporations in all capital letters, and court actions on those who are attempting to exert corporate status over that of the sovereign. And that is what governing, that's partially what governing is about. It's also about connecting with other Moors in your territory so that you can support one another in what you're doing, whatever that is, putting great ideas together. We're now poised to move carefully and strategically into universal commerce outside of the corporate, all capital letters, capitalism system. That poise and posture is ongoing, and so we have to be sure that our documents that are on the public record are not documents that a capitalist or capitalism system can use, but that a subject can obey. And that's what this is all about. This week I received calls from various Moors who are venturing into the creditor status, and I have to tell you that some are highly competent at what they're doing because they know that they cannot operate as a creditor inside of a citizen system. There are no creditors in the citizen system. There are none, not a single one. There are no creditors in the capitalist system, only debtors. And so we're in the process now of getting our proper documents on the public record and ensuring that those documents are not in capital letters, and that way they cannot be used improperly. Having said that, some of the Moors that I spoke with were pointing out different things that are in that system that look like they are usable codes and statutes. But we know that codes and statutes are not for us. However, as the government, if you see any codes and statutes in that system and you want to rewrite them and bring them out of that system, there's a way to do it. The first competent thing to do would be to remove all capital letters from that code or statute. So whenever you're talking about USC codes, et cetera, we don't use them in their current status. It's a corporate trap. The codes that were pointed out that talk about creditors and natural persons and all of that were so filled with corporate Swiss cheese in terms of, there's so much, there are pitfalls in the wording, in the diction. And so we have to be competent to rewrite them to our advantage and move them out of that system and into a sovereign jurisdiction. And that is one of the very first ways that we can begin to do demonstrations with regard to our creditor status. Okay, we would not call a USC code, you know, something we can use if we're putting the letters USC in capital letters. I mean, in reality, those codes are not even working for them. Think about that. They have all those USC codes, and none of them are working for them right now. And that's because the heirs have spoken. So in looking at things like USC codes, do not use them in their current the way they are right now. We can actually, I don't use them at all, but some are insistent upon using them, and so we're going to talk about that and just call it what it is. You can't use them in the current status. You need to decapitalize them. And then any words that they may use that are feudal terms, you need to do the etymology on the words in the code that you're attempting to use. And really, you shouldn't be attempting to use them. You should just bring them out. And these are suggestions because you can't tell sovereigns what to do. But as a suggestion, because you all are gods in and of yourselves, so you can't, you know. But what we can do is say, it is suggested that you take them one code at a time, one USC code at a time, lowercase everything, and then do the etymology on each word that they use in there, because they have those words highlighted on those codes, and then they give you a definition. But again, their definitions are not from older books. So, for example, when they talk about creditors in those USC codes, they always talk about the creditor from a debt collector standpoint. They always say the creditor is out there doing debt collection actions. Okay, and that is absolutely a pitfall. Creditors don't even deal with debt because we don't have debt. We don't have debt, and we don't make debt. Okay. What creditors do is, and this is something that that we're doing demonstrations on this week, is we are, for example, when we write a document, we do it from the standpoint of we are the lender and everyone else is not the borrower, but the recipient of the lending. Okay. Now, has anyone, and I'd like for you to open your mics and talk about this, has anyone done the etymology on the word loan? Now, I'm not saying go get one. Please don't go there. Let's just do the study. Let's just study right now. We're not getting loans because we are the lender. We're the creditor. Creditors don't need loans. But has anyone done the etymology on the word L-O-A-N? And if you have, *6 and talk about it. Or if you haven't and you have a dictionary in front of you, read what the older dictionaries say about that word. If anyone has maybe a Black's Law 4th edition or less, or an older dictionary, and can *6 and read the word loan and what the definition says, then do so at this time. And if no one has one, then I'll read what I have here. But I'd like to hear from you all. Or you can go online and read what it says. We can't hear you. I can see your lips moving, but we can't hear you. You're muted. So *6 so you can read it. *6. Go ahead. Let me grab my dictionary.
Gregory, you have your mic muted. That's why you can't be heard. Unmute your mic.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and just unmute and see if there's someone who can read that. Just a second.
His mic is muted. I can see that right now.
Yeah, I can see him moving, his lips moving. I think it's Justice Gregory. Were you reading what you had there? Because we couldn't hear you if you were. Anyone who has an older dictionary reading the word long, go ahead and Justice.
This is Tiger.
Okay, hold on for just a moment. Hold on.
Did everybody?
Okay, with those who have the dictionary in front of you that you began reading, if you will hit *6 and read what you have there. I think I saw. Go ahead.
Go ahead. A loan out Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. A lending in Ray Lala's estate, and then this law case 362. It say also means advance of money with an absolute promise to repay. Bankers Mortgage Company versus, v. Commissioner of International Revenue, CCA, the Moore law case, and it goes down bailment without reward consisting of delivery of article by the owner to another person to be used by the latter gratuitously and returned either in specie or in kind, a sum of money confided to another. Islam.
Justice Uramore, you're sounding really muffled. Can you?
Yes, I did hear that too.
It goes on to talk about the 4 elements of a loan, and it reads, the 4 elements of a loan are a principal sum of placing of the sum with a safe borrower, an agreement that interest is to be paid, and a recognition by receiver of money of his liability for return of the principal amount with accrued interest.
Okay, what edition are you reading? What edition is that? What edition dictionary is that?
That's Black's Law 4th edition.
Is it the one from online?
No, it's a hardback, deluxe 4th edition.
And what year is it?
It's 1951.
Okay, I figured that one was newer.
West Publishing Company,
yeah.
1951.
Yeah, I figured that one was newer. I figured it was newer. Because those are, and I'm going to mute you because there's a little bit of an echo. But because those definitions are newer feudal definitions. I figured as much. Does anyone have any dictionary, law dictionary older than that or any dictionary older than 1951, or an unabridged dictionary.
Empress, may I?
Yes.
Hi, Uncle L, with the online etymology dictionary.
Mm-hmm.
Loan, a noun. For the late 12th century, that which is lent or owing, a thing furnished or promise of future return. Also, a gift or reward from a superior, a gift of God. That's late 12th century. Islam.
Yes, read those last two again, because that's what I have here.
Yep.
Yes, read them again.
Late 12th century, loan, a noun. That which is lent or owing, a thing furnished on promise of future return. Also, a gift or reward from a superior, a gift of God.
Islam. A gift from God, or and what I have here in this unabridged dictionary, and it's older. This is the obsolete definition, which means it absolutely is older. It says a grant or gift from a superior, and she put it in the chat right there. That which is lent or owing, a thing furnished on promise of future return, also a gift or reward from a superior, a gift of God. That's what a loan is. And that is what lenders do. That is what the creditors do. Has anyone ever heard that a loan was a gift or reward from a superior or a gift of God? Have you ever heard that that's what a loan is?
No.
Okay.
No.
Now, who is God?
I am. You are. We
Correct. Correct. All are. Yes. I'm looking in the chat. Yes. Yes. And when you say that, say I am and we are. Yes. We are God. And none of us ever knew that a loan was a gift from God, and none of us knew that it was a grant or gift from a superior. Well, who is superior on this land?
We are.
Islam. Islam. Islam.
I am.
Islam.
We are.
Islam. Islam. So, having said that, that is actually the definition that we gave to a loan. It is a grant or a gift from a superior, and never once has any Albion or foreign colonizer been superior to the heirs. That's why what they give you is not really what we think it is. Okay? And with that information, I want you to take some time as the heir to think about that, think about it, and then think about it some more, and let the ancestors give you some more information about it, because that is going to be something that we talk about as the creditors. And as we prepare to completely take over and activate our status as the creditors to all of the nations on the earth. Okay? We are the creditors and never the borrowers. We never will be. And we never were previously. We just thought we were borrowing. But you can't really borrow something that doesn't have any value. Okay? So think about that, because there's so much that we don't know about our status and what we're about to do. And the language in the status and in that whole creditor column is going to be new to us, and not only is it going to be new to us, but it's going to be, we're going to see the untwisting of the terminology as given by the Phoenicians.
Islam.
Okay, Islam.
Just to elephant back on that.
Yes.
The reason no one can loan something, you can't loan what's not yours to someone, and then because what you're doing is you're actually, in the first place, the loan from their perspective is something they own and they're letting you use it. When in fact, if you are the owner, you can't be the borrower of your own
Yes.
of your own substance,
yes.
because it is of your substance that you are loaning and not charging anything for it.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
The principles
Absolutely.
of energetics is how that is what's working there.
Yes.
Islam.
Islam. And also, when we're dealing with gold-backed lawful coinage, I see something in the chat that says they loan it to you with the intention of charging interest and getting that principal back. They do, but they're not loaning you anything that you don't already own and have. All of that is resources on your land. And with gold and silver, there is no interest. That is called usury, and we don't do usury. When you're the creditor, as we all are, there is no such thing as interest, as it were. Because if you, or even additional like fees and loaning fees, etc. Why? Because if I have a bar of gold and I say to you, or if I have 3 bars of gold and I say to you, how many do you need? And you say 1. And I say, okay, I'm going to give you 1 because I'm the creditor. And I give you 1 bar of gold. And then you say, well, how much do I have to pay you back because I know there's probably going to be interest? Well, if you didn't have any gold to begin with, and I gave you a bar of gold, how are you going to pay interest? How? Because now I just gave you something that you didn't have at all. And now you have something that you can use. Now, if it is a subject, then we send the subject with some instructions saying, hey, subject, this is what you do with that and this and this and that. Unlike unlawful corporations, corporations cannot own gold or land at all. So they never owned anything that was ours anyway, and everything is ours. We know that. So as you begin to do your demonstrations with regard to, and feel free, do demonstrations with documents that are out there and things that are out there. Just remember, as you're writing your affidavit, because all demonstrations, they should be done by affidavit, and that is a suggestion. Moors can do what they want to do. Sovereigns can do what they want to do, but it's from personal, what I know about affidavits, an unrebutted affidavit stands as law. And so any demonstrations that you do them by affidavit. And again, feel free to rewrite all of that colorful, hypothecated craziness out there known as USC codes, rewrite them, put them in lowercase letters, and do the etymology on each word in there that you use so that a word that's as simple as loan will not be misconstrued as you asking for something when in reality you're not asking for anything because you already own everything. As a nation, we have an obligation to our land and to our and to the commerce that is here. And as we move into commerce in the way that we gods move into commerce, because everyone's expecting us, they're already knowing we're on our way. I was listening to a video the other day, and they were just excited that the gods were returning, as if we're coming out of the sky somewhere when we've been here all along. We never left.
Islam?
So, Islam, Justice Gilmore.
A little report on certain things that the investigations bear up to, that many of the state employees are being furloughed for a week, but told it starts with a week, but they don't really know how long it's going to go.
Okay.
That's the report back from certain people who are working in their different areas. So they know that it won't come back the way it is. They just don't know when.
Yes.
Islam.
Yes. I'm just looking at some of the language that's coming in the chat, some really good language with regard to sovereigns and et cetera.
There are.
Okay. Okay. So that's something that I really want you all to think about and to ponder on, about how you can use that information to your advantage, because it's absolutely a wide open advantage for us as a nation. And then in the coming days and weeks, I'll tell you the status of the demonstration that I did, knowing what I know even about that word. Again, you cannot tell sovereigns what to do. Sovereigns must do their own study. None of us knew that that's what that word meant. They changed it because they know they're not superior, so they have to add some colorful language and change it into something that it's not. But when we look at that the way that we meant for it to be, it says it right there in the dictionary. So, again, I'm looking in the chat.
Yeah, this is Jonah. Can I interject?
Sure.
Yeah, I was interesting what Jeremiah was saying, and I made an observation recently because I still, I get, Social Security, and I go and I have a card to do it, to withdraw funds from the account, but of course they're Federal Reserve notes, right? So I've noticed that they have been decreasing the amount of Federal Reserve notes that they are handing out. So that's another sign that they're, getting rid of the Federal Reserve notes. So they're becoming less and less. So it's now that I went yesterday, I could only get 40 notes from the card. I go like, they're going like really way down. So anyway, I just wanted to add that, to pay attention to things like that, to prepare and find other ways to, trade or bargain with people.
Okay. This is the beginning of how we can do that as a nation en masse. Okay. There are some things, some hints that we're being given with regard to how we are to proceed in order, because we already know that the economy depends on us, and no one else. We know that. It's always depended on us because they needed our signatures for everything, okay? So let's give that some thought. Again, I'll read it again. And some of you are going to get what is being said by this. Of course, we don't need to ask for a loan from anyone because we're the superiors. We give them. We don't take them. We give them. Okay. I'm looking to see the. I'm waiting on the outcome, and actually not waiting because I know how it's going to turn out. But they have to do as commanded by the heirs, and they need to know that as a nation, we're going to be operating and doing things on our land in high numbers, and they need to get ready for that. They need to get ready for that. We're testing their ability to be obedient in this territory here. And as usual, you know, the first couple of interactions are always going to be, what is this? I don't know what this is. Oh my God, what do I do with this? You know. So we just tell them do as commanded, and then we step back and give them an opportunity to do what needs to be done. And then, as we were saying before we were interrupted by the subjects, who are, they're fighting, but they can't do that. They can't do that. That's a no-no. Back to what we were saying, we need to, don't call him names. He's a subject. Just call him subject. Because our nobility is always going to be front and center.
Pray for them.
As we were saying before, who would we pray to?
P-R-E-Y. P-R-E-Y, not P-R-A-Y.
and we don't. Well, but that's another something that that we need to discuss in terms of words. I would like for anyone to look up, when you have a moment, the word pray, but look it up under the spelling P-R-A-E. Just when you have a chance, look that up so that you can see what that means. That is the only pray we would be using. Okay. Other than that, we don't pray on people and we don't pray to anyone, because who does God pray to? No one.
Islam.
So, yes.
Does it mean to beg? You would pray.
It depends on the spelling, and again, we don't use either one of those. We use P-R-A-E.
Okay.
P-R-A-E. P-R-A-E. It is a Latin term.
Yes. Islam?
Yes.
One thing, when you use that word P-R-A-Y in the intended for them use, it is a begging word, because I pray thee to, I'm begging you to, that's what it is. Okay?
Yeah, that's P-R-A-Y, and we never do that.
P-R-A-Y,
oh, no.
Exactly.
Yeah. And P-R-A-E, I'm looking in the chat, P-R-A-E, prefix. It is a prefix, absolutely. Used especially in words regarded as Latin or relating to Roman antiquity, equivalent to P-R-E.
So, praetor.
Yes, exactly. That is exactly where that word comes from.
Yeah, from praetor, yes.
Yes.
Like yes. President, preacher?
Like praetor. Praetor.
P-R-A-E-T-E-R.
P-R-A-E-T-O-R.
Yeah, T-O-R. Yeah, oops, yes, T-O-R, not T-R. Thanks for that correction.
Yes. So that is that is the only pray we would ever use, and it's a prefix. It's not even, you know, we use that as a for example, some people would say deposit. We would never say deposit. Like if you go into the savings and trust, the moorish savings and trust, and you're using gold and silver, you would never say, can you deposit this? D means not.
To not, yes, just
right.
Posit is the word, correct.
But you could use pray-posit, P-R-A-E, posit, and that would mean to do it. And in reality, it means it's already been done. That's what I like about the word, is it means before. It means, and as the creditor, we've already given out all of the credit that is needed on the earth. We just have to now walk through making that available and using our creditor status to do so, even for our, especially for our own needs, getting our own needs met on our own land.
Islam?
Islam.
I heard that Donald Trump was a preacher, and is that the same thing we're talking about? Like he's not the president, but he's a preacher? Is that the same?
Something like that. It is something like that. Like that.
I talk to Todd Uribe all the time. I'm from Philadelphia, and you know, I'm always pressing his hand and everything, and sharing, you know, thoughts with him. I'm 70, you know. I'm a Leo. That's me, Frank. Ill. All capital.
Islam.
All right, I just want to clear that up. I thought it was a preacher because I'm telling you, it's not the president. He's a preacher. You know, and I just want to...
Preacher. He's a preacher. Or
P-O-R.
P-R-A-E-T-O-R. Yes. So, and I would actually have to look to see if that's what we really want to call him, because in reality he is a subject. And we just have to determine the capacity in which the subject operates. So, and yes. No, I'm talking about Donald Trump.
You know, he's a preacher, not a president. That's what I meant.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
So, so again, as you're doing your demonstrations, and everyone can feel free, and this is just a suggestion, again, you can't tell sovereigns what to do. Feel free to demonstrate where documents are concerned in these so-called banks that are occupying our land, and at this point they've been made subjects and they know it, and so they have to do exactly as they are instructed and commanded to do. And they're starting to see now that they have to do that, or else they're not going to be able to stay here. And they will be replaced with subjects who will do as commanded. And that's not about war, that's about peace on the land. It's not about war. And that's not about threatening anyone or anything like that, because we don't have to do that. We're the sovereigns. Having said that, something that has been a little bit pressing is, and not pressing on me specifically, but just in our nation, there is a shred of energy going through our nation in some places, not many, but in some places, where Moors are ready for everything to happen now, and actually ready for everything to happen yesterday. I get that. We all get that. And things will happen as you demonstrate, just as they have for me and others. Those things are happening as we demonstrate, so we must demonstrate. We can't really wait, per se, to save ourselves, but then as a nation, we're moving in unity. Okay? We're moving in a unified manner and saving ourselves at the same time. That's something that can be done simultaneously.
Islam.
And so, we have for many years been in a situation where we felt like we were lacking, like we were without. And we're not quite out of that programming yet, but we're getting there as a nation. Some of us are already out of that thinking because it's really thinking. It's a thinking. Some of us are already out of that thinking and others are coming out, and for that we're grateful. Once we realize that everything around us is ours, we can then move competently and calmly and strategically into full possession of it. And that's where we are as a nation right now. There was someone who was going to interject.
Yeah, Islam. This is Sheikh Malik L. I just want to, just because we're on topic, I just want to get into the astrological part of it, and it basically makes sense as to why everything is happening, and that the way things are flowing and so forth. So very quickly, this has to do with the Pluto retrograde. So I spoke to everybody about the new moon in Taurus, and then this is to go along with that. This is the Pluto retrograde that happens just until October. It actually starts April 25th, 2020, so in about a few days. So just to go over when a planet goes in retrograde, right? Planet goes in retrograde, it's like an illusion of the planet going backwards, right? It sends us into revision, reconnection, revisiting some things, and the Pluto is in the planet of Capricorn. Pluto, the planet of transformation, of deep dark mysteries, intensity, focus, and then Capricorn being law, being status, being structure, and so forth. So it deals with the mixing of both, right? And so we have a lady named Nadia Shah, right? And she explains that the retrograde, right, not only seems like it's going backwards, but it's because the planet, when it goes in retrograde, is actually closer to the Earth and would otherwise be a symbol for very, very strong energy, or energy becoming magnified and intensified. So this is a very powerful time to look within. And in other words, a retrograde becomes deeply intensified and deeply relative and personal to us. So just to go off of Pluto as a planet, the origin, the myth of it is that Pluto is the god of the underworld, right? Pluto is going to that place that is very, very deep, sometimes painful, the painful experiences that we had that we don't want to look back onto, but transforming from them in some way, right? This is the idea of turning lead into gold, right? It's an alchemical process, and it's very closely aligned with Pluto. And the number in numerology that aligns with Pluto is the number 0. Why? Because this is a sense of, once again, power in the beginning, right? The rise of the phoenix, coming to, the starting place of 0 and becoming born again, taking a first breath. So Pluto grants us with a source of power and intensity and focus. So this time of transition that we're moving into is going to be a very it's going to be very rooted into ideas because of other things that's going on with the other planets, and learning from more of a spiritual truth and how this is a part of our journey to greater wisdom. So as I mentioned, there's other planets that's moving in different directions too. Like we have the Venus retrograde, and so with that, the Venus retrograde season is going to invite us into different energetic space. But to feel it's like feeling a pull of fear from Neptune, but at the same time wanting to know that we're going to be okay, and having a shift of our own values and the processes, which is going to take us back to truth and enlightenment. So it's basically through this phase, right, that, you know, there's going to be a little fear and so forth that happens, but and there's going to be a lot of challenges that happens, but through this process, we're also going to come into greater enlightenment, greater wisdom, right? And with that being said, because there's a conjunction between Pluto and Capricorn, as I mentioned before, in transformation, this is a huge transformation in consciousness, because the last time this happened was, and this is what they referred to, was the Protestant Reformation, and this is when there was a huge shift and leap in human consciousness, you know, from being taught, you know, that we had to learn from other people about religions, and then now understanding that we can learn for ourselves about whatever whatsoever religion or what it is that we take interest in, right? So because that was a huge shift in consciousness, right, this led to different revolutions and so forth. And so this is basically going to be a strong reset in the month of May, because there's going to be a lot of planets going retrograde, such as Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, right? And with this strong energy, it's going to be a time of reflection, you know, reassessing, you know, a focus on money, relationships, and so forth. So I just want to mention all of this because Empress Light, it's basically what you were touching on. You're basically talking about everybody, you know, wanting to go ahead and get into, you know, certain things and want things to happen now and so forth. But, you know, this is all a part of the process. This is all a part of the process, and it's all about trusting the process because it is working in alignment with us. You know what I'm saying? It's working in alignment with us. So all we have to do is just keep on doing what it is that we're doing, right? And everything will pan out in itself. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say as far as that. For those of you who are still looking to do the Capitis Nolo documents or looking to do documents in Capitis Nolo that hasn't reached out to me, you can reach out. I'm going to put my email in the comments, and we'll definitely go from there. And also, because there's other people that reached out that wanted to compensate, and I let them know that I'm actually doing this for the challenge of it and so forth. I'm not looking for any compensation, but if you really, really want to support, I could definitely put in my GoFundMe link as well, and then you guys can support that way. And so just look out for the comment section. But apart from that, may we rise in power, all right? And may we stay focused,
Malik,
stay intense.
if you will.
Yep.
We can't hear Emperor like Bay, man.
Malik, just a moment. Malik, if you will reserve and not put it in the chat. Don't put the PayPal in the chat. Don't do that because that's not what this platform is for. And also, if you are charging more for any document, there should be no charge because that's not. And if you would go ahead and send me a copy of the documents because I've not seen them. Okay,
yeah,
that you're giving out to the Moors.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not charging anybody. Yeah. Like I said, I'm doing this because of the challenge of being able to do more work. And there's actually folks that reached out to me that wanted to compensate me. And I said that I'm not.
But that's not going to be our focus. Yeah. Compensation is not going to be our focus. Okay. Yeah.
Exactly.
So go ahead and send me a
So,
copy of the documents that you've done so that I can take a look at them as
mhm.
well, so I can see what the Moors are getting as well, you know, in case I can look and see if there's something that I can use from them as well.
Yes, absolutely. I could definitely do that. And
Okay.
I'll leave my email address in the comments for anybody that's looking to get their document changed. And yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And more, if you will note, I have not seen the document, so you all must, again, like I said last time, do your study on the documents. Be sure that if you see anything on them, and this is not a thing against Justice Malik, and in fact it is in assistance and support of what he's doing. If you see anything in the documents that may be futile or that alludes to fiat or anything like that, then you need to point it out, edit it out, take it out, and then just use what you can. Okay, because we don't want to put a lot of emphasis on putting a whole bunch of stuff and then being you know, we don't want to continue to push fiat driven processes. We want the processes to be everything in our nation. Our freedom is sacred. It's just too valuable. So we have to, you know, make sure that everything that we do is is priceless. Hold for just a moment, Empress. And so, you know, again, Malik, Justice Malik, thank you so much for that reading. We appreciate the reading. We want to be sure that the Moors are aware that their freedom is free. That's why it's free.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Like
Islam.
it says, it says so in Circle 7. You know, that, you know, no more should be charging other Moors for any services or anything like that. So I'm well aware, you know.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, so.
And I'm not saying that for you. I'm talking about just in general. Yeah, I'm just talking about in general. The Moors, you know, we can't continue to throw things, our responsibility to study in other people's laps along with some fiat. But assisting one another, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Yes, we need, you know, more assistance in decapitalizing all of this stuff, because it's crazy right now. I mean, I started looking at some of the documents out there that we're going to have to decapitalize, and it is it's every document we've ever used must be decapitalized. Every single one of them. The treaty, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, any trust documents that are out there, documents that were put out there previously, all of them have to be decapitalized, all of them, and the feudal terms removed from them. Okay, and so that's what that is the goal. And at any time that we can assist one another in flattening the curve of the learning curve of that, which is what you're doing, high honors for that, because that is going to flatten the curve or shorten it for some, you know, so that the curve is not so steep, and we can move a lot quicker and a lot more efficiently as we rise, you know.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Thank you for that so much. I appreciate that. And as always, the reading is always welcome. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Islam, that's my sister.
Islam.
Yeah. I want to say something too. Got to get it in.
Okay. Justice Frank L., if you take about 30 seconds to say what you have to say. Go ahead.
Yeah. 1973, I nationalized. I am so proud of you. I want to say to you, it's a miracle, girl. They never told us anything. The main thing, everybody keeps saying L. I've been in the court system. I done beat their butts, and I thought I had no friends in the world, but I just had the faith, or what the faith is to know. Capital E, you taught me that. But E, what happened to the E? And so they keep saying L, and and I was 23, and I'm from Philly. I know the Capitol building. I know 46 and Market. I know really good. I've been here for 52 years. I'm from Kakalaki, North Carolina. But that E bothers me, like you were saying, Miss and Ma'am and Madam.
Yeah.
What it is what happened to the E? L is the in Spanish, and so it's and I work for the state of Philadelphia. I work for I didn't work for an IRS. I didn't work for the shipyard. And they respect me so well here. I'm 70 years old now. Taj Reed Bailey, he's my right hand. That's my dog. And but I just the first time I had the opportunity to thank you. It's E. You got to say I be in the courtroom. They respect me, and they make sure they say Frank Eel is Eel. You got to say that E and before you say that L. It's Eel, because L is the in Spanish. That's what we had going here, but for 47 years, I think it's 46 years now, and everybody's clear on that. But once you say L, that's like saying capital note or low note, and they know they know the subjects, like that. So it's just so important. If people can just get it, who they are, stop calling yourself L. What the heck? That's the in Spanish, and so it's just eel.
Actually, may I interject here?
Please help me. Yeah. I love you, girl.
So
you got me calling my name. I'm Frank Raymond Jenkins. Low note. You done taught me so much. You's a blessing.
Islam. So when we say L, it is also it's first Moorish Latin before it was ever Spanish or anything else. And so Moorish Latin is it precedes and predates all others. And so the pronunciation of it can be either eel or L. Either way, the sovereigns are not wrong. They can't be wrong. They're sovereign. And so just like, whatever we choose to be called is what it is because we're sovereign. And that is something that the policy enforcers in them have really used to their advantage previously. They can't use that anymore. But previously, if we decided if we responded to black, they treated us that way. But that's because we're sovereign and we determine what we're called. No one else does that. And if we consent to someone calling us something, that's one thing. You don't want to be called Frank L, Justice Frank L, so we will definitely honor that and call you Justice Frank Eel.
Just say
Is that okay? E, okay, Islam. Justice E, Islam.
Okay,
thank you.
Kill the Moors. Do not use.
Okay. Islam then. Thank you. Correct me. I appreciate you. I appreciate that. I need correction too.
And don't say I'm sorry because just be more comfortable.
Okay. Islam. Thank you for that input. So we want to get back to. I want to show you all a document that was given to me by the ancestors, and it is a document. First of all, it is written in Quantum English. Quantum English is another form of writing. It's actually Quantum Anglish, and as we know, the word quantum, where Moors are concerned, means bringing it to its most pure form. Quantum means pure for the Moors. And quantum Anglish is English that pulls out anything that has been put in to neutralize the next word. Okay? And so I want to share a document with you with regard to what we talked about initially about the word loan. Okay? Now, I am not saying, again, because we are the creditors, we don't get loans from people, we don't ask them for loans because they would only be giving us more of what is ours. We don't need a loan from anyone. And that's another reason why we don't fill out their forms. But I want to share this document with you. It is a bit cutting edge in terms of it's like Bay Moorish Nation 1 at gmail.com. It's going to be something that we've not seen recently in the language. It's a very short document, but the quantum English came straight from the ancestors recently, and I want you to just to see it. I just want you to see it. And again, we don't tell the sovereigns what to do. Sovereigns take the information that is given and study it. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you so that you can see the document for those who can see. Let's see. Let me pull up the document. And no one has seen this document yet. So it is the first time that I'm showing the document to you, just so that you are aware. And again, please remember what was read about the word loan. And I'll read it again, actually. It is a grant or a gift from one who is superior. And I actually, of course, I edit everything to my sovereign liking whenever I'm doing documents. I'm looking in the chat. Jatali L is saying that must have been MST of A in the house. We welcome them as well. Okay. The document that is in the chat, and this is just an example of a demonstration that I would do. And we're not saying that anyone else should do the demonstration, but I just want to show you something based on my study. Quantum English, again, it brings things all the way down to its most basic form. And what it says here is this is a universal sovereign creditor prepositive. Pre means before position. Prepositive means positioned before. Loan instrument. It is an instrument spelled with the letter E and not the letter I, because when you look at the prefix IN as a prefix, it means something different from what we've been told as well. So it's been changed to instrument, E-N-S-T-R-U-M-E-N-T. And I took a form that was given by a particular quote-unquote banking establishment. And we know that they have no real money. They've never had real money. This is the first time with the awakening of the Moors, this is the first time that banks will actually have real money. Real money is gold backed. And in our lifetimes, we've not had a system in place and actively working in the favor of the Moors that is gold backed. That is because we had to wake up and put it in place. So now, the Universal Sovereign Creditor Preposited Loan Instrument. I took a document that one of the banking institutions that we have leaned and placed in subject status, Navy Federal, circa 1917, by the way, or somewhere around there, 1915, 1917 is when they came into being, according to their records. It was a 96 SBL 11-19. Navy Federal Form 96 SBL, and then in parentheses it has 11-19, so I'm assuming they put it together in 2019, November 2019. Well, we don't use their form. We don't. And so next to that, first of all, that form number is in kill brackets, meaning it doesn't exist, not for the Moors. And then next to it, I put nolo enjoinder, meaning that document is not joined to what this affidavit is saying. In other words, they can't create joinder with the sovereign with that particular form. So it says, this document is missing, and it's not missing it. They shouldn't be there in the first place. All terms such as, and actually a couple of them, I see a couple of need to be fixed as well. It's missing terms such as the and the word and, etc. Because again, when you're speaking in quantum English, Anglish, or the language that is of the angels, you don't use those terms. Original creditor, Pauline Denise Ritchie, in capitis diminutio nolo, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, in proprio heredes, sovereign jurisdiction. All creditor property posited sovereign, that means everything that has to do with us as the creditor is positioned in the sovereign jurisdiction. Changes, posits, sovereign property, living creditor, sovereign jurisdiction. Any changes, any positioning, any sovereign property as the living creditor, those are in the sovereign jurisdiction. That's what that's saying. Sovereign universal creditor, preposited instrument in mount. And if you do the etymology on the word mount, we have been told to use the word amount when we talk about the amount of something, the price of something, the amount. That is not the right term. That is not the sovereign term. The sovereign term is mount without the A. And when you do the etymology and you look up the definition of mount, and I'll look up the definition, and then anyone who wants to do the etymology of that word, M-O-U-N-T, okay, that word as a noun, just a moment, let me look. Mount is to, just a moment, let me find that, to fix a specimen on a slide. It's very custom. Just a second. Okay, this is the one I wanted right here. Mount means to rise on high, to ascend, to climb. Okay? And then to increase in amount, to rise in value, as savings quickly mount. Synonyms are to rise, to ascend, to climb, to increase. And then as a noun also, it means a hill, which indicates land. A hill is land. And it said, and the obsolete definition, which is the one that we use, a bank or fund of money. A bank or fund. because we know the word of means without. A bank or fund. And that's why we use the word mount. And then if you look up the word M-O-N-E, M-O-N-E is what the word money came from, okay? And so whenever I'm writing a document, I do the etymology of each word, and I look up each word and look up the obsolete definitions of it, etc., the older definitions of it, and determine whether to use it versus whether to use the word that we've been trained and programmed to use, like amount. Okay? So when you look up the word M-O-N-E, it means the moon. And it can be pronounced money, just like M-O-N-E-Y.
Yeah.
But from our perspective, we always want to use the words that indicate something that we already possess. That's a part of our estate. The moon is a part of our estate also, as you know. It also governs our womb. And so I chose that version of money instead of any other version of money. Okay. And then I put in some other information here, posited in a sovereign trust account, and that's just a number. Sovereign creditor, Pauline Denise Ritchie, in capitis diminutio nolo, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. And then I put the definition of loan, a grant or gift from and I changed the word superior to sovereign. And that is the terminology that when we write our documents, it has to be used based on what we say it is and not what anyone else says it is. Okay? So, just a moment. Now, right, I'm looking in the chat and someone says prefix A means not. Okay. Let's see. And then it's saying that he's trying to get into the meeting. Okay. Hold on just a second and let me let him in. So, again, and this is just a document that I wrote over the last few days, looking at the words, looking at the etymology, and then taking out any words that may change definitions, etc., to with what we're trying to do here. Okay. It says again also in the chat, Justice Yearmore saying, in all words like agree, agree means not agree. So when you put the word a in front of something and there's not two, there has to be two vowels after that for it to be an effective word that we can use. Like affidavit is not the same as a mount. When a is used as a prefix, it means not. But with the word affidavit, it is used properly. Okay. So it's that kind of study when writing our documents that we should be doing word for word whenever we're trying to say something or convey our message to these foreigners, okay? And I did show this document, and the first thing that was said was, it's not in English. I said, bingo, it is not in English. No. And that's what it should not be in English. It's in quantum English. Those are words that it absolutely has the right meaning. Absolutely. So that's the kind of study, word for word, that we spend our days doing, so that when we write documents, we write them in a way that conveys the message properly, but does not consent to jurisdiction outside of our sovereign jurisdiction. And that document was for Navy Federal Credit Union as subjects to the Moors. And they know that Jean Clare in Tacoma, Washington Territory is the subject that document was given to. And so she's aware of the $100 million amount on there as well. And she did say, well, this is not in English. Correct. It's not. It's not supposed to be. I'm not English. I'm American. So what we want to do again, and I just wanted to stress the importance of studying each word in our demonstrations. And we're getting to the place now where our demonstrations don't have to be super long.
Can't hear you.
Yeah.
I'm here. Can you hear me now? Okay. Okay. So that's just one of the demonstrations that was done. Thank you for that, because sometimes I'm talking and in making sure that the meeting stays clear. Okay. But that's just one of the demonstrations and one of the types of demonstrations that we do regularly in moving forward with access to our estate. Okay. And again, what that document does is tell them that we are the creditor, we're the sovereign, we're the superior, and despite what has been in the past, we already know that anything that is given is ours, and we're actually doing you a favor. We're helping you out so that you all don't starve, because you can't keep working with all the fiat out of here. We're glad to see it go, because that leaves this whole economy wide open for the Moors to get out there, put some documents out there. Do not fill out their forms. Again, we do not do that, because that's a suggestion. You can't tell sovereigns what to do. But take their form, their blank form, and put an affidavit over it. Don't fill out their form, put an affidavit over it, and hand that to them. Because they're getting very, very desperate right now. And they should be. Because they're going to have to do as commanded by the heirs, or, things just keep getting worse. We're here to make things better for everyone on our land, but no one is going to continue to command our resources and leave us out. That's not going to happen. It's not going to continue. And so we're going to continue to peacefully send, and I say that with a huge smile, because I'm just so excited that we have done everything that we have done without any weapons, without threatening anyone. Despite all that has gone on our land, we didn't have to do any of that. All we did was speak by affidavit, and everything has come full circle for us in the favor of the Moors. So I would encourage you more to go out and put those affidavits out there. The fraudulent banking covers have been removed by court action, and as long as we are not speaking corporate language, they must do what we tell them to do. Because, see, they don't have to, and they're proving they don't have to honor the citizens at all. And they're not honoring the citizens. In fact, they're throwing the citizens in jail left and right for things that, you know, you would think is not a crime, except the status is what makes it a crime. The status makes all of that stuff a crime. I mean, they can just be overdrawn on their account by, 2 cents, and folks are being thrown in jail. Well, we're not the citizens, so that doesn't apply to us. We should put, let me see, I'm looking in the chat. What should you put on affidavits if you don't have a domicile for a mailing address? We don't have addresses anyway. We have mailing locations. So you can put a mailing location on there. You can put a mailing location of a relative or any, listen, if you had a bill, they would know where to send it, wouldn't they? So change all of those addresses and things to mailing locations. Okay. Empress Amber, if there was how are the people that are claiming to lien your estate sending things? Okay, then that is something that someone put in the chat, general delivery. That is absolutely an option. And as general delivery, you put it as a mailing location, not as an address, as a mailing location, okay, and as a territory, okay, and make sure that you lien the post office first so that the corporate covering can come off and they can stop speaking that commercial garbage that says you have to pay for this and pay for that, and the address has to be this way and that way, etc. That's what the court actions and liens are all about. Is you all are not going is those entities or our resources are not going to keep telling us that we have to pay this and pay that in fiat on our own land when we need something. And right now we need groceries, domiciles, conveyances, etc. on our own land. We need all of that, and we command that it be given. And we're going to command it competently. That's why the information is being shared. We are to terminate all corporate contracts and speak to those, because see, it's not a resource if you're a part of the corporation that's doing all the madness. It's not a resource, then you're just another commercial object, a piece of property in there. Okay, and that's why our affidavits must be in all lowercase letters, because we know we're the creditor. We know that. They know it too. So again, we're going to continue demonstrating with our writs and affidavits until they give us exactly what we command. And right now they like to kind of, sometimes they like to act like they don't know, and they play dumb. But we're hip to that. We already know that they're not stupid. They know who's feeding them and who created them. Okay? And so we want to continue along that vein. Having said that, are there any questions about how to use your creditor status in terms of first lowercasing all affidavits, and then if there's any, we use the supreme law of the land and we don't use codes and statutes, but if there's a code and statute that's worded a certain way and you want to include it in your writing, rewrite it in all lowercase letters. And if it's, for example, 15 U.S.C. 1692, okay, that is a code that says, you know, it's very craftily written. In other words, it's hypothecated big time. And so we don't want to use that specific code. But if we want to take the wording of the code and say we are not subject to anything in these codes, that would actually be the wise thing to do. We are not subject to anything in these codes, and all laws made by the state to the contrary is notwithstanding. So in using creditor status on our land, again, go out and if there's something that you need, I don't care if it's groceries, I don't care if it's domiciles, conveyances, whatever it is, terminate all corporate contracts and then do an affidavit to that, whatever corporation it is, and we don't do them to the corporations, we do a court action and remove that corporate covering off of them. And speak to them as subjects. Speak to them as the subject and tell them that they are commanded to give you whatever it is that is a resource on your land. Subject, I'm looking in the chat, subject names and corporations are to remain in capitis diminutio in our affidavit. So subject names and corporations are to remain in capitis diminutio minima, which means the first letter is capitalized and the rest of the letters are lowercase. That's how you speak to subjects, and it's not corporations that you're speaking to, it's companies that you're speaking to. Corporations are notwithstanding. Okay?
May I interject?
Sure. Islam.
I have a question because one of the things that I recognize is on our ID cards, everything is, the picture, the photo, is on the left side. Now, corporate uses the left side as the debtor. So I wanted to find out if anyone, can, see that, or if you've done any research on that as far as switching from the left side over to the right side, which is the creditor side. Also,
who says that the debtor side is left and the creditor side is right? I'd love to see the, the language on that.
It's not something they said. It's just, observation from, like with the capital and the way they address us. Also the way that we autograph. Normally before we came more aware, we were autographing on the left. And from my observation, the creditor, just like when we do checks, you sign, autograph a check, it's usually on the right side. Because when you take a document and you hold it up as if you're the one that's speaking this document, the left side would be the left side that you would be facing someone speaking to them, so that the autograph or the picture or whatever would be on the left side. So it's just, I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. I'm just saying it's an observation that I noticed, and to do your research, like I said, and look into it. I yield.
Islam,
does anyone know anything about the left and the right side and where we can see that in writing?
No.
Okay.
Never heard of it. But Islam, please, like Todd said, please, not redundant. Please don't never stop talking about that. It was so important, and it just everything came to light. We start talking about Dominutio and Lono, because then that was the key to us being in captivity. So don't never think it's over talked. Just keep, because the Moors will keep using Dominutio all the time, and they sound so smart, and they keep missing the major point. So just real slick. The Dominutio and doing minimum, doing maximum. It's so important. So don't never think you over talk that. Keep that. You don't talk me so much. Just beat me upside my head, and I thought I knew something, and then you're a blessing. Just keep up the good work, please. You're just doing
Thank
so
you,
much.
I will.
Them ancestors are tearing you up, girl. And you're helping me so
Islam.
much. And I'm 70 now, and I feel like a little boy now again. You know,
Islam.
Yeah, I'm learning so much from you. Thanks to Taj, thanks to dear Naya, Dr. House of Real Awakening Mind. You keep up the good work, please.
Yes.
Don't give up.
We
need you.
We absolutely give honor to our Consular General and Grand Chief Taj Tariq Bey, as well as Dr. Nyela Gilliam L., because we highly honor, all of the Moors with regard to, Islam. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah. Well, we need you so bad. Boy.
Islam.
You helped me out so much because I'm tearing them up too. They're scared of me.
Islam. Does anyone? Thank you so much for that, Justice Frank Hill, Islam. Islam. So, what you're saying, Justice Joniah, what you're saying about the left and the right is absolutely in fitting with the pattern that we see in their documents, so it must be written somewhere. It must be. Because when you think about checks, they have it, the all caps name on the left. But the sovereign, even though we did not know we were sovereign at the time, was signing on the right. So it must be written somewhere in their codes. And most likely, that can be found in the UCCs somewhere, in their UCCs, which is the Uniform Commercial Code, which we don't really do uniform commercial code. That's for subjects and citizens. Islam, Justice Marcel.
The signature line on a check actually is microprint. If you use a magnifying glass, it says authorized representative. And when you sign on a check, you're signing as the authorized representative for the straw. So I think, and I've been under the understanding that the signature on a check is as the debtor on the right, and that the left side is for the creditor. I yield.
Islam. Well, we will have to do some more study on that. However, I tend, definitely, again, this is the beauty of this, is that when the information comes out, we can look at it and study it, etc. I tend to not focus so much on, for example, right, left, vertical, horizontal, etc., because I know that our sovereignty says it's whatever we say it is. But for some, that is important. And you should study it so that if we can make our processes even better, let's do it. That's what the rise is all about. The Grand Rising is about continuing to make things better and better and better and better. Now, we're not talking about changing anything right now, except our documents being in, and we've already talked about them being in all lowercase letters and in red, if you can do them in red. Because we know that all lowercase letters, again, affects everything, even in that system over there that used to operate as a corporate in all capital letter system, but now we're seeing it start to respond to what we tell them to do from outside of that system. We are outside of that system. We have our own everything, but that system is also a resource. However, we can't use it while we're in it as pretending to be citizens. And we say that all the time. That you'll probably hear me say that regularly because we always have new Moors coming. And we're never going to use that system as citizens ever again, ever again. We're always going to terminate all corporate contracts with all corporations out there. and we're going to speak to that system from a sovereign quantum anglish state and status as the government. We govern everything that's on our land. That stuff doesn't tell us what to do. We tell it what to do. So when we give our documents out, etc., we are giving out commands. We're not requesting anything, and we're not asking, and we're not praying, and we're not any of that. We give commands on our land because that is what sovereigns do with their resources. We command all. We have dominion, and we are eminent dominion. And we are sovereign jurisdiction. We are the gods of the land, and it is absolutely time for us to live, move, and have our being with that status.
Could you
is there a question?
Yes. Could you get to that star? It's the importance of the star for the national ID. The star that must be on a.
Oh, okay. Really quickly, with their IDs, they were told by the Moors to get in alignment, and we've stated that many times by affidavit, and those affidavits are out there on the public record. They need to get into alignment with what we're doing. Everyone must be properly identified. If you go out on YouTube to Light Tajiri Bay YouTube channel, we told them everyone must be properly identified, citizens, subjects, etc., on our land. And we know that they have to get in alignment with what we're doing. We're not going to put 50 stars on our IDs because we know that's some fraud right there. We're going to have them to get in alignment with our flag. Okay, our flag has one green 5-pointed star, and they are also to do the same. And we don't care what color the star is. It just needs to be one 5-pointed star on their ID so that they, as the republic, can be in alignment with the heirs.
And don't turn it upside down.
Whose credit, right, whose credit they have been using. Okay?
Pointing up, because they always try to turn it down sometimes. That means something.
Yes. Justice Avis put in the chat notice in your creditor document, you put E-N capitis diminutio nova and I-N proprio solo. What's the meaning with that? I actually meant to put E-N proprio solo and E-N proprio heredis as well. And on the final document that was placed there, I just pulled up one that I was using earlier. But on the final document, it is E-N instead of I-N. And when you do the etymology and the definition from before the hypothecation of the dictionary on the prefix I-N or the word I-N, it has a different meaning. And so, whereas E-N means what we want it to mean in terms of its quote-unquote obsolete definition, which is actually its older definition that we gave it initially. So, with having said that, take the information that has been given with regard to creditor status and study it. Always demonstrate at the level of your overstanding. Don't do anything that you're not sure about, and sovereigns can never be wrong. You can never be wrong unless you're warring, because sovereigns don't war. But we know that already. And so always demonstrate at the level of your overstanding, and always demonstrate, period. In the chat, it says, Islam, I'm trying to get clarification on using fiat going forward. Are we to use affidavits from now on? That is a gradual process for each one of us. For some things, I use fiat because I know it is because I've terminated all corporate contracts, which means that the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 does not apply when I use fiat. But for other things, and I'm migrating everything over right now as we speak. That's what these definitions, that's what the affidavits are all about. I'm migrating everything over so that we don't have to use fiat at all. We want to use more sovereign dolarium, and we want to use our creditor status to get the things that we need on our estate. And so that is how we're proceeding. So the things that you can begin migrating over, start doing that. For example, with domiciles, you want to create a allodial title, sovereign title to that with the proper etymology on it. And there are some great examples out there of that. You want to start migrating possessions over, such as conveyances, etc., into your trust and titling them allodially. Those are the main things that we're doing right now, is that and terminating all corporate contracts so that we can, once and for all, get rid of that whole, and it's really already done. That system, the fiat system, is finished, but you already know that. So we need as many affidavits going out to these quote-unquote banks in all lowercase letters as the creditors, giving them commands as what to do with regard to our resources, because they have everything that they need in order to do what the heirs need for them to do. They know that. And so we have to keep, notifying them and keep giving them commands, because it is just like children. They're a little bit like children, where we're having to retrain them. Okay? And that's going to require the broken record technique, where we tell them some things more than once. So if there are no other questions, I'm looking in the chat. Let's see. Yes, Empress, the Empress Cola says patience. Let me just make sure, patience and perseverance. Are we going to get a copy of the document that you have? Hopefully, if you took a screenshot of it, this recording will go out on the public record, so that, and I did read it word for word, so you can do it that way. And then I'll post it out there on the public record as well, so that you can get it off of the public record, being the Moorish American Consulate Public Records page. So I'll upload it there so you can look at it. And if anyone wanting to do any demonstrations of that nature, then feel free to do the studies on it first. Study, 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 and only after study should the demonstrations be done, okay, in that manner. And we should have the treaty decapitalized. I believe there are some who've already decapitalized it from their own study, which I think is awesome. That's actually ideal in terms of when we bring up documents that need to be decapitalized. What would be ideal is for the Moors to just go ahead and do it, and then do the etymology on the words in the document, and then publish it, instead of just waiting for a template or a document to come out. So that's another reason why I honor Justice Malik and what he's doing, so that, because that's initiative, that is taking some initiative to do what needs to be done and then sharing it with the nation. So if any of you want to decapitalize, etc., then do that, definitely. You don't have to wait for anyone because you're sovereign. Go for it. Do it. The liens, let's see, there's a question in the chat. The liens should only go to the local and state. Those two kind of really don't exist, but you can send them to whoever you're wanting to place on notice. Whoever you want to place on notice. Okay? Policy enforcers need to know about the liens. If they've been liened, let them know. And again, we're not at war with anyone. In fact, what we're doing is causing the land to be peaceful. If you'll notice, there has not been any shootings of those who are our kin lately. So what we're, and that says a lot. That has everything to do with the activity of the Moors, saying, no, we don't do that here.
May I interject?
Sure.
Being peaceful is tearing them to pieces.
It is.
Well,
when you have, Islam, when you when they're accustomed to warring, that's one thing. And we are to be the peace on the land. And look at that. We declared peace on the land, and guess what? It's peaceful. People are on lockdown, supposedly. Only the citizens are on lockdown, not the Moors. And this land has not been this peaceful in over 100 years. That is quite the achievement, Moors. You have yourselves to thank for that. You did that. We did that. We caused it to be peaceful on the land. And that says a lot about commerce as well. Says a lot about commerce when commerce gets to be war. It should not be war. That's why we have to be doing universal commerce. Because universal commerce keeps the peace. That's what we're doing now. We are actually moving into universal commerce when we send these affidavits out telling them what they are to do on our land with our resources. That is what we're doing. And it is absolutely causing everyone to stop doing what they're doing and pay very close attention to what the heirs are saying. How many people would we have lost to gunfire had the Moors not spoken at this time? How many? Many. A lot. They're not even telling you that in places like Chicago territory, that the crime rate is almost zero. Besides any corporate thievery that might be going on in those areas, in those territories, and we'll stop that too. We put a stop to all of that. Once all of the heirs know who they are, it's a wrap for all of the crime and all of that. They want to blame crime on those who look like us. We can prove that that's not true.
I hope you heard the case.
Has anyone even asked, okay, policy enforcers, what's the crime rate now that we have stopped everything? What is the crime rate? Ask them and see if they'll tell you the truth. They're going to lie. They're going to lie. They're going to lie, but we know the truth. If we're not out there doing their bidding, then there's no crime that can take place. If we're not being subject to them, then there's no crime that can take place on this land. Think about that, Morris, about how powerful you are and we are.
Islam.
The killings have come to a halt all over our land because we said, peace, be still.
Islam, Empress.
Islam.
This is Jade Michael from Chicago territory. That's great news I didn't know that the crime rate was that low. Had a couple of questions. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. With regard to the treaty, I might be mistaken, but I thought I heard you mention that we would have to do it in affidavit form because we had accepted the other form that they put together.
We didn't really accept it. We didn't even know that it was in capitalized form until now. We're just now realizing that that's an incompetent agreement. And it's not even an agreement if full disclosure is not given that it's in capital letters and it does not, and it changes statuses. That's not agreement and consent on our part. Full disclosure must be given, and it was not. So now we're giving full disclosure and changing it. And it's not even changing it, we're rewriting it. It is a new document. That's why it's changed from what they call a corporate treaty, so that's a corporate treaty. It doesn't even have anything to do with us, really. It's a corporate treaty. The sovereigns are not even mentioned in it because the word more has a capital M. So we must put our own out there. And it is in affidavit form, meaning it doesn't need their signature. They have to do it.
So is there any particular way we should write it? Because if aren't we rebutting the version that we've been going by in some way, and we're clearing it up?
Yes. Yes.
So is there a way we're supposed to present it? Should we present the old treaty with the new rebuttal? I'm not sure.
I would say yes. And the reason why we would present the old one is so they can't say, well, we don't know what this is. No, it's got your signature there.
Yeah, because we were talking about it, me and some people, and when you say do it in the affidavit form, we do it as an affidavit, and then we protested in the affidavit that it was improper. I'm not sure how we would go about that.
All we do is lowercase what's there in the articles, lowercase the articles, and then for that first paragraph where they're talking about plenipotentiaries and all of those who were party or writing that, we can just use the first paragraph that we have on most of our documents that states that we are the heirs, we're the creditors, we are the executors, we're the ministers of our own vast estate, or for our own vast estate, rather. So a competently written paragraph to say who we are, to state our status, etc. And then the articles in all lowercase letters as well, with the feudal terms fixed, taken out. And that is going to take a little bit of study. It is going to take some study. So, I'm just reading some of the things in the chat as well. And so it's going to take some study, but it's worth it to do it. It's worth it to do the study. And then we will be putting out what we think is a competent affidavit with regard to peace and friendship on our land as well. And it will be those same articles rewritten or written properly and competently, actually. Islam.
I think I understand. Well, I see that you need to correct, but they was being slick. They was trying to be they're trying to give consent, and when you accept and it's all capitalized, you give them consent, And so you want to correct it and show them how it should have been in the first place. The original was all lowercase, not capitalization, because it's been given consent. And so now we know we caught you. They're being slick, and we want to correct them. And that's not called affidavit. This is the correct way, and this is the wrong way, and this is the noble way. And we caught you, you know, we give you consent. We wasn't aware that we was giving you consent. We're not going to give you because this is how it should be, the noble way. The original way, something. That's where I understand it.
And it needs to come from a government. They're not a government. That's why the capital letters are there. Whenever you see capital letters like that, that's a clear indication that you're dealing with a corporation and not the government. That's why we don't use them.
And Jefferson corrected for his people, but they ain't for us. So he knew what he was doing, so we got to know what we're doing.
Absolutely, we do, and we do now.
Lowercase, and thank you. Gold power.
Islam. I did have another question. I apologize. I did. Should we present?
Say your appellation.
Oh, this is Jade Michael again from Illinois Territory.
Okay. Islam.
I'm still on. Do we present the NOLO Constitution as well when we?
Yes.
When we. So is that been NOLO'd, or do we do that ourselves? I mean, I can, you know.
You can do it yourself if you want to do the study, but as you know, there are going to be many versions of that coming from the Moors, because many Moors are doing the study on in capitis nolo and in capitis diminutio nolo. And so they're going to be publishing them, and many of you on this call are going to be publishing in capitis nolo versions as well. And we're open to looking at all of them, and what is right for you is absolutely right for you. It absolutely is. And so it's not a requirement that we do it, but as many of us as can begin doing documents in capitis nolo and posting them on the public record, that should be the case, and posting them in affidavit form. In affidavit form on Moorish government letterhead. That is the best, because again, things like constitutions and treaties can only come from a government. They can't come from a corporation. We said that several times, and we'll keep iterating that. Corporations don't have the authority to talk about land and treaties in land and et cetera. They don't have the authority to talk about that.
But
only we do. Mm-hmm.
Are you saying that, because if I was going to do the Constitution in NOLO, I would just verbatim write it out. Is that what you're saying we don't have to do? Or we could do it in our own way or reinterpret it, or what?
If that is the way that you chose, you are sovereign. Please do it that way. If that's the way that you chose and that's the way that you consent to do it. Because, again, each one of us studies differently. Okay? Some people are...
Uh-oh. You got ready to hit it on the head. Time for stuff.
You'll be right back, y'all. You'll be right back, y'all.
Yes. What I was saying, I think she'll be back, was it seems like some things were improperly done when they redid the treaty. And I don't know how to differentiate everything that was other than the capitalization.
That means don't accept that. Rebut that. Everything is lowercase, that means noble. If you put it in the other way to the lowercase, then that makes you a subject. Don't play with that capitalization stuff.
Okay. Let me say this also. I did get booted off. When we put the documents out there, again, some people are going to go to Word, okay, and Microsoft Word, and they're going to put the Constitution and the treaty in there. They're going to select all, and then they're going to lowercase it that way in one fell swoop. That's one way to do it. However, that's not the most competent way to do it. Most competently, we as consuls and judges and justices, we should be doing the study on that for those who have the time to do that. And with everyone being, closed in, we do have the time to study the words that are being used in the document. Justice Malik, I'm not sure how you did your documents that you're giving, whether they were etymologically researched or et cetera. And you don't have to answer that, but I would encourage all Moors to go through the documents, even documents that are given by the Moorish American Consulate and the Moorish National Republic federal government. Go through them, study the etymology. If you see things that don't seem right to you and don't fit in with what your spirit is saying, then edit and switch and change as sovereigns do. Okay? So, having said that, it is getting on in the hour. We're at about 2 hours and 7 minutes. We do want to end in a decent hour and at a decent time. So thank you so much for attending. Our attendance numbers have been great in terms of even getting the information out, etc. It says, do you remember what you were? Yes, I was actually just going to say, some people put the documents in Word. That's what I was going to say before I got booted out. Some people will put it in Word and highlight, select all, and lowercase it in one fell swoop. That's one way to do it. But again, that's what I was going to say before I got booted out. Okay, and I did say that just a little while ago. And then other people will actually look at the documents from a judicial and lawful perspective, go through each word, do the etymology on those words, and begin to piece and parse it together. We're finding out where quantum English is concerned that words like the and of and what else? And prefixes and things like that have meaning, and we want to make sure that as we continue to rise that we do the judicial study on them, so that when we write our documents we continue to grow in competence. Okay, let's see, in the chat, so from the judicial perspective, can we have one individual to do it so that it will appear nationally, systemic, and in unity? Yes. Well, of course, I'm putting the documents out as well, and those on the judiciary are putting them out, and I usually try to, but the Moors need to do the study. We all need to do the study. Unity is us studying the documents, knowing what needs to be in them, and then putting the different versions out there, and then we can come to an agreement as a nation when we begin our national delegations and things like that, our national conventions, where we can decide, okay, this is the version that we want to put out as a nation, etc. But right now we're getting things out there because we have to get them out there now, in terms of continuing to speak. That is really the point that we're doing right now, that we're making right now, is the heirs have a voice. We must continue speaking. And because we're all speaking at once, we are saying the same thing. We're saying we're the heirs when we speak, even though we may not be saying verbatim the same words. The fact that we're using the same letterhead says that we're speaking as the government. It's government letterhead. And that's why that letterhead is made available to all Moors so that you can use it and speak with authority and know that you're not by yourself when you do that. That there are thousands and thousands and thousands upon thousands of others who are using the very same letterhead, who are the heirs, and who are speaking and giving commands on the land. That's what governing is. Very important, very important. Because so many people have been using the same letterhead, which that has been a very wise strategy on the part of the Moors. When people see that letterhead come through, they know that they have to stop and pay attention and follow the commands on them. And sometimes they try and act like, well, we don't understand this. Yes, you do stand under that. You stand under that. That's the people speaking. The people who are the Moorish National Republic federal government. The heirs to all land, all natural resources, and all commerce on the land. So be careful with the word of, because of means without, and that's something that Grand Sheikh Tashreef Bey taught us early on about the Constitution for the United States versus the Constitution of the United States. That is absolutely, so anytime we see the word of, we should really be looking to substitute it and do the study on how best to do that, because it can be substituted with for. And then when we're doing our documents and we see that word come up in our documents, we can do the study on that as well. And usually the word for is appropriate when we're talking about things other than the Constitution. When we talk about the Constitution, it's going to be the Constitution for the United States all day, every day, just like we've been taught. Our Grand Sheikh is very, very, very wise. Very, very wise. So if there be nothing further, we can go ahead and pause here, and we will be back again on Sunday. We have some things that we're going to go over on Sunday. But again, look carefully at the word loan. And again, we don't have to get loans from anyone. We're the lender. We want you to start looking at the language. That's the point. Look at the language so that we can use the language appropriately. Islam, grand rising to the Moors, and long live the empire.
Islam.
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 Islam, grand rising.
Islam.
Islam. Islam, grand rising.
Great rising. Great rising.
Islam. Peace and love.
Islam,
Grand rising.
Grand rising. Islam. Islam.
Islam.
Much love, Lord. Islam.
Grand rising.
Thanks for the everyday blessing.
Grand rising, Moors.
Islam, Sister Light.
Back to the Moor. Grand rising, Moors.
Islam. Persia Moor.
Islam. Peace and love, everybody.
Yes, sir.
Islam. Grand rising.
Grand rising.
Great rising.
Every dice for humans. Every vacation